Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am working on another photo critique for you guys. Like I said before, I plan on pumping these out pretty quickly. I want to do multiple a week, and I want it to be an ongoing thing. So the next image was sent in, and again, I'll tag it up on the screen here. It was sent in by Ali11 Aziz. I'm probably pronouncing something in there wrong. Apologize for that. But if you guys remember when I was doing the EvoG touch, he actually sent in a GTR shot that he was kind of one of the first to do the EvoG touch with me. So it's kind of cool to have him be a part of this series as well. So yeah, so he shot this Maserati here and he sent it in, and I'm very grateful for him sending it in, and we're going to dive deep into it. Okay, so the first things first, I want to just say that this photo really catches the eye. It is absolutely a beautiful angle of the car. I love the doors up. I don't shoot doors up often, and it's probably a bad thing. Like, I should probably take that shot. This looks really, really cool. And shout out to also what Maserati is doing ever since they've dropped the deal with Ferrari there, that partnership with Ferrari. They've really kind of been coming out of their shell, and I like what I'm seeing out of Maserati, whereas originally I was kind of bored of their cars, so to speak. But this is fantastic looking. This is awesome. So composition wise, let's just talk about the composition first. Let me get a layer here. Set. Okay, so first things first. There's not too much to change here. I really like the way it's looking. It looks like you had an awesome finish to work with here. It doesn't look like there was any strobe. This is all natural light, and that silver or like slightly matte look is just getting awesome reflections, and it looks like you shot it, towards the sunset, and you get the beautiful light here. Absolutely love everything I'm seeing as far as the car is concerned. And the shot in general, I'm loving everything I'm seeing. So if we were going to dive deeper and just try to squeeze even more out of this opportunity, out of this photo shoot at this time, I personally would maybe get a little bit more contrast on the car specifically. I kind of like the haziness that we're getting in the background. The ground has that consistent, basically the background in general has a consistent softness to it, and I feel like the car could pop out of that a tiny bit more. Very nitpicky, because I do think it's fantastic. I would just like to see the way that looked, which I guess I could run it here for you guys really quick. Like, let's just say we did like a little punch like that. Then we're going to inverse it. And then I'll just, like I said, this is going to be very quick. I suggest that you select the car out and do this. But now let's just punch that back in on our car. And all I'm doing there is I'm saying, give me a little bit more black in the blacks and give me a little bit more, punch in the highlights with the curve adjustment that I just did there. But yeah, so like I said, you want to select the car out and do this. I'm just going to go over it with a brush. You can see, like, my mask here is terrible. But if I toggle that on and off, you see a little bit more punch on the car, and your eyes go to the car. Obviously, your eyes are going to normally go to the car, on this shot. It's the main focal of the frame, and it's the biggest thing in the frames. Your eyes are already going to go there. But just to kind of give it a little bit more dimension, like it's popping off the page to you, I would go maybe a little bit brighter on some of the vehicles, or like a dodge and burn on the highlights and the shadows if you didn't want to do it the curved way like this. But yeah, so as far as the car is concerned, I'd probably do something like that. Tiny things that I'm seeing that I would fix personally would be the warmth in the windows, and this isn't. Sometimes windows are just funny, the way the window lens messes with the color in the background depending on tint and whatnot. But we have like a grayscale here, whereas the sky is more of a yellow tone, right? So I'd probably try to select out the windows, or select those windows and try to get in to match a little bit more of, like, so they're seen through the color, basically. There's just a color shift off there that I would try to fix. And even more important is right here, and I think you can really see it right there. It's almost gray through the window there. I believe that's the window, unless it's something else, but I believe you're seeing through the window there. I'd like to see it more of this color up here, that yellow tone, just so it's consistent, because this does not look dropped in on this location, and I don't want people to say it's dropped in because the windows are not matching the yellow tone of the color. So that is one little change I would take. I'd probably mess with that little spot, and the way I would do that is I was just kind of select it out. Again, this is going to be really rough. I would take a lot more time on this, but I would select it out like that, and I would grab, this is obviously implying that the sky reflection is there, so I would make a new layer, just get it all set up. So I would sample there, and I'd do something like that, then I'd sample here, and do something like that, and just, again, it needs maybe a little bit more work, but just like, so it's not like a little messy spot right there, right? So you don't have that little chunk there. Now it's just smooth. It's a smooth line. That's probably something I would fix. And I'm fine with the composition like this. The one thing I will say, though, is in the back, I'm getting a little peek of a city back there, right? And it kind of leaves me wanting a little bit more on this location. It looks like a really epic spot. And I'd love to see like what this, like when you're out there shooting. I know we can't change it now, and we're mainly talking about the edit, but for the camera to just shift this way just a hair, invite a little bit, unless there's not that many buildings back there and it's just not what I'm thinking, but shift over to the left a little bit, keep the same height, keep the same angle. You can play off this yellow line here and just see like maybe the buildings would be like that much, something like that, and then they lead to the car. Like the reason why I'm like that'd be cool is, say that there's a bunch of buildings just like off in the distance, right? And then those lines are going to point right to our vehicle, which I think that would be really a shot, like this is already awesome. But that is one thing I'd talk about, or I at least want to see with the composition. And I'm assuming you probably took that shot. Maybe it just, maybe it isn't what I'm thinking it is back there, but it would be cool to see that, thinking that there's a city behind the car hidden here. And it looks like you have the space over here to do that, to invite more of the city on the left side of the frame, and just shift this shot a tiny bit. Even if you had to like re-angle the car this way a tiny bit to, I'm really bad at making arrows, wow. Even if you had to reposition the car this way to keep this aggressive angle just slightly, to make that work. I think that would have been really cool. Like I said, you probably shot 200-300 shots, so I'm assuming that maybe you did grab something like that, and we're just going over one photo here. So another thing is, and it's kind of like the same object in the beginning, I probably would have done personally like some sort of pull. It looked like you did do one here, but again, I talked about it in the first critique video. You just switch this over to soft light. We grab a gradient, and let's just say black, and we did like a little pull from up there just to get a little bit more drama. You could go as dark as you want with it, but you can see now, like, check that out. Personally, and again, the banding, don't worry about the banding. If you're working on your main file, when you compress all this, the banding should go away. Not when you compress it, but when you merge it all, if you're working on your raw file, it should, kind of smoothen itself out. But again, same idea, and you could even put that on a layer mask, go radial, switch the radial to black, and fight it back from over here, so it lets your highlight come back in case the when I did that pull, it was affecting all of this, right? And maybe you didn't want it to affect right here. I'm gonna do that layer mask with the radial and burn it back from affecting this zone here, basically. Another thing I would try to do with this guy maybe, and I would probably instantly do this just to see how it looked, is I would start playing around with a dropped-in sky. I went ahead and selected the car. Obviously, your car is usually going to be always selected, but since I'm working with a JPEG file, I don't have the layer where it's selected. So I went ahead and selected the car, and I went ahead in my sky archive here. So I selected the car out, and I'm gonna just see what the car would look like with a couple of sky drops in it, just to see if we can add a little bit more drama to the sky. It's a little bit flat. Obviously, the most important thing is you want to match the sky. Like you can already see sun bottom right corner, That's kind of what we're implying here. It's to the right. So let's just try this one just for fun. There we go. We'll put that on top. So we're going to just like kind of like play with this in a couple different areas here, and we'll hide that. We'll select our car, shift control inverse, and we'll just paint that sky in just to see, you know, what it would look like, what it would give us. And you can see you get a little bit more drama. Do I think the photo needs this? Not necessarily. And like I said, I just have the car selected out here. You're going to want to do like a real selection for the sky to do something like this. You could even, another way, since it's such a hazy photo, you could go with like a black gradient map again, and you could just go up on top, and not black, we're going to go with white. Since we're on a black layer mask, we're going to go with white, and you could just pull down from here and let it do its work on itself. Something like that, right? So we're just going to blend it into the photo like that. And now you can see it's kind of getting over the city back there, which we might not want. So now I'll select the layer mask. I'll go back on black, and I will just get like a 50 or maybe even lower, like a 35, because you can see it even affected under the car a little bit. Like, we don't want that to happen. So we want to brush that stuff back. We want to go back here with a big gradual brush. I'm going to click and then shift, click a couple times. We're going to get that original back. Just faded in there. So now we have like a couple clouds up there, something to play off of as far as the weight of the photo goes. I know we aim for triangles, and this is not a triangle at all, but we can get creative, right? It's like kinda but you're not, like I said, you're not really going for triangles. We're going for weight, and that's ties really nicely back with like wanting to get the city over here a little bit more. Like, I'd love if the city was right there, just to kind of like balance the weight of our frame a tiny bit more. And like I said, this is kind of nitpicky. I love the shot right off the bat. And then if I went with this guy like this, just to help balance things out, I'd probably put like a linear dodge glow coming from over there. I grab one of these oranges that I made, and I'll do like a linear, a radial pull, right? And then I'll stretch it to my car. That's a little too yellow, so I'll go back in and I'll select a darker one. We'll do like a pull like that. It's affecting the car a little bit. And then I'll probably dump that down to 50%, maybe even lower. Something like that. You know, it's hitting the grill, it's hitting the car. It looks very, since I like when I do those radial pulls and stuff, I like pulling it enough. Let me get this back on that. I like pulling it enough where it actually overlaps my car. You'll see like right here when I toggle, it's actually affecting the car. So it seems like that, it makes that flare seem a little bit more real when it's going to actually overlap your subject a tiny bit, because it should. And we have this highlight right here implying that that's happening. So I think it's okay to kind of stretch it a little bit more. But yeah, so you're just taking it, you know, just another step forward. If you want to drop some sort of clouds in there, there's also clouds selected out on, you know, invisible backgrounds that you could probably pop up there pretty easily with this sky. This needs a little bit of warmth right here if you're going to do this sky drop. But yeah, so I'm going to get rid, actually I'll keep the sky drop on there just for this last thing. Another thing, just to give it a little bit more dimension, I'd probably do like a soft light black pull on the ground in the foreground here. Make sure that you're on the linear and you're going to pull up like that. Maybe like something like that. It's just going to give it that, like, we're trying to give it that dimension, right? Like, there's 3 layers, and I think that helps it. You got this whole section is dark, then it's a little bit brighter, more specifically brighter here on the car right there, and then we're dark in this section again. It's, you know, it's dark up there again. Obviously putting that sky in removed our soft light pull on the sky, so you could go back in and run the soft light on the sky now and get something a little bit more dramatic in the one corner of it like that, you know, something of that nature. Just really quickly toggling on and off. You're inviting more purple into the photo, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think it plays off the yellow nicely. Also, I do want to say, usually I'm trying to like Photoshop out like parking lot paint and street paint, but in this instance, I definitely wouldn't. I absolutely love that this kind of plays off of that, the brake caliper there. I think that's an awesome little touch and a weight in the photo. But yeah, other than that, I would say that this is an awesome shot. Even without any of the changes, I'm really happy even with this. But yeah, those are some things that I would do to, maybe take it in a couple different directions. And yeah, so I really appreciate you sending this photo in. I had a blast checking this one out. This is a killer shot, and you're definitely on the right path. Really, really love this. So yeah, like I said before in the video, I'm planning on pumping these out. I want to have a couple each week. Ideally, I think that would be really cool, and eventually I'd like to move into doing these live with you guys, like on a Zoom call or something, and where we can have more of a conversation. But I think that's a little down the road. I still need to get my office in order here so that I can be a little bit more organized for things like that. So yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for checking out the channel again, guys. If this is something you like, if you want me to keep doing these series, definitely help me out with smashing the likes and follows. And I really appreciate the support. So thanks, guys.